Hello my friends, John LaRuffa here with another straight up solo, and in this review we're going to be taking a look at the deluxe version of Clinic. Okay, now Clinic has been out for quite some time, and I should just show, I guess I'll show the box. And it is fully playable, so it kind of goes together. You put this with this, and then they make Clinic. Okay, anyway. It's fully playable as a solo. You can play as multiplayer. I'm going to be focusing specifically on the solo rules. And I'm also going to talk about the game with some of its expansions, kind of just what that does to the entire experience, okay? So let's take a look at it right now. And folks, as always, please help me out by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel, as it very much just makes me happy. Okay, so again, this is the deluxe version of this game. And so it comes with the deluxeified pieces and the doctors and all the, the wooden stuff. I'm not sure what the original game came with, but I think it was definitely less deluxe, less pretty, I think. All right, so what do you have going on here in this game? This game is, for the most part, a simulation type of game, okay? It's played in 6 rounds, and this is the main board. And the main board kind of gives you an iconography explanation of what you can do, so to speak, in this game. You can build different modules. You can hire different personnel. And you can admit patients. And then after you do that, we do some business stuff where you actually make money. We do some admin. Oh, and we have to move things around, which I'll tell you about that in a minute. That's a big part of this game, is kind of like the logistics aspect. And you're building up this hospital of yours. Now, the hospital can have more than just floor 0 and floor 1. You can actually have floor 2, 3, even 4. And I think there's an expansion coming out in a little while that'll even give you a basement. And there's a lot of placement rules in this game where this kind of module needs to be next to this kind of module, needs to be not touching this kind of module. It's a very spatial game. So for instance, in order for this setup to work here, this is like the psychiatric part of the hospital. This must be next to my treatment, all right? And the treatment center has to be next to the supply area. But the supply area from down here could, if you think about this as a 3D square, now becoming a cube going up, or in this case, it's not a cube, it's a parallelogram, but you get the point what I'm saying. This actually is adjacent to this building because this one is directly below that. So that can provide the supplies to this building. And there's a lot of these things, which I'm not going to go into, but I'm going to tell you that it's a big part of this game is trying to figure out, okay, well, this can be adjacent to lots of things, but it can't be adjacent to itself. And it needs to be adjacent to these treatment rooms, and these things can only be on a single floor, only one per floor. You only build one per round. There's all sorts of these intricate things that go on in this game, which makes learning it just a little confusing at first. But once you get the understanding of what's going on and you can read the icons, it's fine. Also, you can build all these other little things in the base game, which is gardens, helipads, entrances, parking spaces, even conveyors, and special modules that do a variety of different things. And all of those things basically help you become more efficient, treat patients more effectively, or get more money or see more patients. Also, anytime someone comes to your clinic, you have to deal with their car. So these parking spaces become an issue. And you're like, well, I got a lot of... This is starting the 3rd round of the game, by the way. And you could say, well, I've got a lot of space over here. Yeah, but you get more points if you can build a second building here, or your hospital expands. And so you're trying to make the biggest hospital you can, so parking becomes difficult. And that's why you have to get parking spaces which can fit more into them. So for instance, if I buy a parking space, I could then put 2 cars in here along with parking around the side. If I upgrade it later, it can even hold 3, okay? So there's lots of different things there, and the extension modules add a ton of other options, okay? Lots of stuff. Add things to patients, add things to sideboards, add things to the types of doctors and the types of medical professionals you can do. Like you can hire janitors, for instance, or maybe you'll end up treating elderly people. Maybe you need to have fire extinguishers for whatever module that you're doing that. So they add a considerable amount of things. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's a lot of variety in this game to keep it fresh, which I think is good, especially from a solo perspective. Okay, so now what does the game flow look like? Oh, and by the way, I am thematically playing with the COVID module that came out at the kind of the beginning part of 2020 as COVID started to come on the scene. And if you don't know what that is, you're either living on a different planet, or this video is being shown hundreds of years from now, because everybody and their brother has been affected by COVID this year or last year. So I'm playing with this module just from a thematic standpoint as I'm halfway through. And as you can see, this module adds a bunch of different steps in this game. And so every module adds things in various levels of complexity. And I'll show those in a little bit. So what's going on? In the game, you're going to pick 3 actions. You can do each action twice in a round. There's 6 rounds. So you pick an action, you do it, then you add patience up here. You pick an action, you do it, you add patience. You pick an action, you do it, you add patience. Okay? So I'm going to show what those actions are right now. The first thing you can do is you could decide, and these can be done in any order, and again, you could double up. You can't triple up, you can double up. If you pick the build action, you can build 2 modules, okay? So that would mean I would follow all of the things over here in this whole section to build. So I could build, let's say I want to build a garden or a helipad, or maybe I want to build an entrance. The cost to build those things is printed on your board over here, and you quite literally pay the cost and put them on your board. And they all have different placement rules and different things like that. So for instance, maybe I want to be able to treat more patients, because I need to bring in more people. So what I'll do is maybe I'll build an entrance that allows me to treat more patients. So let's grab an entrance here, and I will put it over here, right there. So now I have another entrance that'll help me treat more patients. It'll also help people come into my hospital at this spot, which can affect my logistics train, which is also good. And we'll get to that in just a second. All right, now I get a second one. Oh, by the way, so that costs $2, right? So I have to pay that out of my bank. So $2. And maybe I want to also deal with this parking lot situation. So I've got a lot of people here. I could do that. Or, in fact, maybe in general, I want to do something different. Let me build a special module. So these special modules, you can only have 1 per floor, which is what this says. We'll only build 1 per round. Sorry, 1 per round, 1 per floor per round. They cannot be adjacent to any of them that they are on, and they also have to be. You can only have. I think that means 1 of each type. It's so confusing, and I'm sorry. So that means it's locked to a service hub. Means you can only have 1 service hub per floor, as far as I remember that. I think. I don't know. No, you can have multiple service hubs for floors. That specific thing has to do with a service hub of any type, and then the lock means requires. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's just for this one specifically. So forget all what I just said. That's for the operating room, which I've already got. So anyway, I'm going to build this service hub, okay? And this thing is going to help me become more efficient, and I'll put it right here, and that I'll show you in a minute. And that also, again, costs 2. Because it's in this spot, okay? So I've gone ahead and I've built. Now let's say I want to, so I built, now I have to add 2 random patients from the bag, okay? So we have a bag that's seated depending on how many people you have playing the game, and solo player, you'll seat it with a specific number, which doesn't matter to you right now. But anyway, I'm gonna get 2 out. I'm gonna put the first one over here. All right, it's a white severity patient, and then a yellow. White are the easiest, yellow are next. Then you have orange, and then you have red. And the color scheme has to be treated by a similar color doctor, or you can use nurses to make up the difference. And as you can see with the severity here, red's the most severe, white's the least severe. And if you go ahead and treat a red, you're going to get $32 for doing it. If you treat a white, it's $8, and everything else in between. Plus, with this module, the COVID thing adds a little twist where you have COVID spreading and different things like that, which I won't get into because it's little nitnoid rules that won't help you decide whether you really want or don't want this. And that's what this is all about. Okay, so I did that. I added those things. Now I can take my second action in this round. So let's say I want to hire people. If I want to hire people, I can choose to hire 1 doctor or 1 of these guys. I can either hire an orderly, which will help make things cheaper, or I can hire a nurse. And in this case, I have $7. Not exactly swimming in the cash here. I do see that there's some orange patients out there, which might be helpful to deal with. So why don't I go ahead and hire this person right here for 4, and I'll also hire this nurse here for 3. So that'll be 7. And I'm going to put them on a starting spot. They're going to be entering my medical facility. I'm going to go ahead and put them right here. Okay? I'm going to make the most sense. I actually will not put them right there. I will put them coming in the front door, and you'll see why in a minute. Yeah, it doesn't actually matter because that guy's going to come into the treat room either way. Okay, we're just going to put him right there. Okay, so that was the hire action, as you can see right here. Pretty simple. You can hire from what's available, and I pay the money. All this money. So long. Now, I have to add cubes again. This for the cardiac place, we're full, so I don't even add a cube there. Apparently that's all the heart attacks we're going to have, or heart issues we're going to have for now. We're going to add this over here, another white one, to the psychiatric area. Okay, so now the third thing I'm going to demonstrate, bringing in patients. So this is where we admit patients. And by the way, you could put them here 1, 2, 3. Just kind of plan it out. So I'm going to admit patients, all right? And so what I can do is I can use a certain number of queue points, as in queued up, depending on how many entrances I have. So I have 2 entrances and helipads, which I don't have any helipads, but I could do that too. 2 entrances plus 1. So you always get X plus 1 for entrances. So that's 3 queue points. I can use the queue points to move people around in the queue, or to actually put them into my spot right here, or both. So let's say I wanted to swap the position of 2 of these cubes. If I swap the position of 2 of them, that would use up some queue points. If I take one over here, put it down here, it uses some queue points. And anytime you make a hole in here, everybody's going to slide over. So remember I said I wanted that orange doctor? Well, I'm going to use the orange doctor because I'm going to admit this guy. So he's going to be admitted, and he goes from this area right here down to here because it matches. Now these guys immediately slide over. Okay, that was 1 queue point. Now, if I wanted to do some jostling, I could, but there's no real point. And anybody I'm going to admit now is going to be another patient. But I have 3 total points, so, or another white patient. So I'll admit one of these guys to my cardiac area. Uh-oh, he comes with COVID. We'll tell you about that in a little bit. And then I'm going to also admit one more of these to the psychiatric part of my hospital or my medical place. And these guys move down. Okay, so I've used my 3 queue points. I've put them on here. Now they're sitting ready to be treated. And finally, I have to draw, as I do with every round, or in between every round, pardon me, some extra folks out of the bag. Okay, there we go. So we have finished the 3 turns in the round. Now I have to deal with moving things around, okay? And for every step I take in the building, I basically have to pay a penalty of efficiency. And you can see that after just 2 rounds, man, I've taken a lot of steps. I got a lot of inefficiency going on. I didn't do a very good job setting things up. I was moving people around, and it was costing me a lot. So let me show you how this works. Okay, so by the way, everybody's got to be in the hospital. Nobody can be left out. They've got to be over here. He was out because he got COVID. And well, that's the next step, actually. With the COVID expansion, I have to assign 3 cases of COVID to the people, either patients that are out here or doctors or other personnel. So this is where the braininess really comes in. You got to do some real thinking about, well, who should I assign and how am I going to treat and everything else. So I'm going to make some rash decisions quickly, and I'll just show you what that would do. All right, so first I'm going to assign one to a nurse. And because I assign it to the nurse, again, this is part of an expansion, she goes out of commission for a round. I still have to pay her, but I'm not going to be able to use her. Then I'm going to assign one to this white cube over here. All right. And then finally, let's see, I've got an orange doctor that, the thing with COVID is it bumps these up in severity, but you don't get paid for it. So this is actually like a yellow cube. So I'll need them to treat. This would be like a yellow cube. I'll need them to treat. And this is an orange cube. I can treat the orange like a red with the help of a nurse. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. So we've got 3 cases of COVID coming in. All right, so that was the interim step. Now, let's go ahead and move them around. So this person, again, out of commission. Over here, I'm going to move this person from the cardiac care. So they go to this spot over here. We're going to start in this entrance. 1, 2, and then up, I'm sorry, 1, and then up to the treatment area for 2, okay? Now, that person's ready to be treated by the white doctor with the assist from the nurse. We'll get to that in a second. Plus, I got to get a car because that person came with a car, not an ambulance. That's for a different expansion, but a car, okay? So that was 2 to get there. 1 to go in, 2 to go up. So I move this thing over here, 1, 2. Now my next person I'm going to bring in, this person needs to go to the psychiatric area. So we're going to go 1, 2, just like before. Put it down here. So we're going to assign that, 1, 2. And then this person needs to go into also the psychiatric treatment area, 1, 2. Okay, 2 more. Now remember that building I bought earlier? That building gives me back 3 of those time points that I lost when I'm moving people around. So let's just take that right now. 1, 2, 3. And now I still have to move my staff around. So this person has to be in an orderly room or a supply room to actually work. So I'm going to move him in 1, 2. Then I need doctors over here. So here I need the orange doctor plus a nurse to be able to cure this person here. So let's go 1, 2. Oh my goodness. It is a fiddly game, as you can see. And I should have, I hope, I don't remember, but I hope I added the 2 just now when I moved that back. If I didn't, sorry folks, sorry. Got a lot going on in this game. You gotta really pay attention. And then finally I need somebody here, another doctor or another nurse to assist here because, no I don't. This is like a yellow cube, so we're okay. But I need the nurse to assist this guy who's like a red cube. So let's go ahead and move this person down. 1, 2. So now we have what we need there. And then I have one person up here, and really I goofed that up because this person should have gone 1, 2, and the other person should have stayed, okay? So I have all the people I need, plus I've got this doctor up here who's gonna do nothing, plus the orderly, and everybody out. So we're good, we've paid our penalty in time, at least I hope so. And I had to put in 2 more cars for these people, which I forgot. As you can tell, lots of little things. You gotta have a system in this game to be able to take care of it. And there we go. Now, because I've done that part of the turn, I am finished moving. Now it's time to actually do the business administration of this. And this is where the meat and potatoes comes in. How do I get money in this game? How do I get points, etc.? So you're going to have to trust me on this that, again, these cubes were cured because they have the right combo. This is actually a red cube because of the COVID. So this plus the nurse allows me to treat red. This is the yellow, and because this is actually yellow, that gets treated as well. And this plus the nurse is a yellow. Or the white doctor plus the nurse can treat a yellow, and this becomes a yellow. But I only, because of COVID, get paid for the actual rate here, found here. So that's 20 plus 8 plus 8 is 36. So I'm going to get $36 for that treatment, okay? 25, 30, 35, 36. I put that money in this slot right here. Then I treat the cases. So these guys go back into this area, which was great. I treated them all. And because they survived and lived with COVID, we're going to actually put the COVID stuff in the victory area over here next to this module. If they had died, I would have had to put them over here. And I'm making a clear mess of my hospital. All right, so we've done that administration. Oh, plus, I treated 2 people who could see the garden. So I should have gotten a bonus of $2 per person because of that. So I will. There we go. There it is. And I'm done now with the business phase. Or the top of the business phase. Now I got to pay everybody their salary. So as you can see, based on the colors, I have to pay those people accordingly. So we pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then because the color is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in staffing fees. So that's 11. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take these right here and get 4 back. Then I got to pay for the facilities, okay? So I have to pay 1 per module, and this would be more if I use the operating room, but I didn't. And 1 per garden, and so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so that's $9, but I get a little bit of a discount with this guy here of -3, as you can see over here. So I have to pay $6 for that. Of course, lots of change, so 2, 3, 4, toss in 1, $6. Okay, this is getting long-winded. I apologize. And I still had to pay for him even though this person was out of commission. They come back in at this point. So they've now been in quarantine. They're cured from COVID. They'll be ready to come back in next round. We just discard this. It doesn't go to the actual victory pile. All right, and now we go to the admin phase, and this is basically like cleanup. All right, so the first thing we do is we discard any cubes that are in that spot. Boom. We also move the round, or we put this turn marker back. Then any doctors out here get smarter because they've been studying dutifully away. So he becomes an orange. Plus I draw another doctor from the doctor bag, which was, again, seeded earlier with various levels of specialty doctors. Okay, move him over. I would remove a nurse if I didn't buy the nurse, but I did, and we keep that out there. Oh, by the way, I've treated 3 patients. 1, 2, 3. Cars go away. But I bet I didn't put the cars out for the new doctors I get, did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There should be 8 cars there. You see how easy that is? When I bought those guys, I was supposed to have a car. I'm sure everybody out there like me who has a little OCD in them was sitting there dying the whole time waiting for me to figure that out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 more is 8. So it's probably time to get a parking lot soon. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to build very much anymore. Okay, we fixed that mistake. Now, anybody who was in a lab, which I don't have, would go up. Anybody who did actually treated people goes down 1. So this orange becomes that yellow, and that yellow becomes this white because they're stressed out, and the whites stay white. Finally, I have to, if I had patients that weren't treated, they get worse. And that includes sitting in the queue over here. And then I would flip over new tiles if I had bought any of these, because some of them you can only buy 1 per round. And finally then we would jostle turn order, which we don't do because it is a 1-player game right now, and away we go. We're now into the next round. And that is the entirety of a complete round of this game, and that takes you through all of what you're doing. That is the kind of gameplay you're dealing with here. So let me take it back up. And again, there's 6 rounds. At the end of the 6th round, oh, I should say, the final thing you could do is purchase points, which I didn't do over here. But that's how you actually score in this game. It's not about money. In the business phase, you can spend your money, your funds, to get new points at a rate of $3 per point. So I would purchase, let's just say 15. So that's going to be 5 points right here. So I was on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it puts me to 8. Okay, and then I have to set these funds aside because I can't purchase points with them anymore. They go to my bank, and I'll use those for expenses later, like hiring doctors and building things that you saw. All right, sorry about that. I'm all over the place today. My apologies. All right, now let me tell you what I think about this game from a solo perspective. Okay, so first off, I want to apologize for a little bit of that clumsiness there. As you can see, and it makes a very good point in this is a game that has a lot going on. And there's a lot of free-flow, sandboxy stuff, so it's easy to get tripped up if you don't have a system. And that'll be my first negative of this game, is that if you're going to play this game, you got to be paying attention, and you can't be distracted. At least I can't. So if you would think you would play this game while you're watching something or taking a break, or, it's a light-hearted game, this is not that. Now, I don't think it's a negative. I just say it's a watch-out, I should say. Because it's not a very tough game once you learn the rules. Really, it's not that tough to play because it's not like there's a lot of gotchas in the rules. There's just a lot of things to keep track of and a lot of fiddliness about it. Now, that's one thing this game does have. You saw me knocking over my pieces accidentally while I was trying to do that holding the camera. It's a fiddly game, all right? And if you don't like fiddliness, you're going to probably be frustrated about this because the pieces are kind of small. The tiles are kind of small. You're kind of working right in front of you, and you're moving things around, and you're trying to count spaces, and you're trying to remember to put the spaces that you counted on that thing. So there is a little bit of that, and that could be a little tedious. I would love it if this game was an app with all the expansions included. That'd be fantastic. It'd make it play a lot easier, but it isn't. It's a board game. That's what I'm talking about. So those are some negatives there, or some watch-outs, I would say. The other thing is you're not playing against an automa. You're playing for your highest score. I know some people don't like that. That being said, I wouldn't want to play against an automa in this game. No way. There is enough calculating as far as how do I do what's it going to cost me, am I going to have enough money, how am I going to get my logistics guys walking around, how am I going to improve the efficiency, and there's things to do that. I could build conveyors to make it more efficient, but I can only build this amount this round. There is a lot of good, interesting thoughtful and worthwhile choices in this game. So I would not want to control an AI at all. So it is a beat your own score, but they do give you conditions that you have to accomplish if you're going to win the solo game. And you can choose whichever conditions you want from the book to say, oops, that's the COVID one, but to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to decide in this case, I want to, here's the solitaire mode thing. There's all those different things. There's 10 different things you can shoot for to say, by the end of the game, you got to do this. So you have to accomplish that condition. If you don't do it, then you lose no matter what. If you do it, then you can compare yourself to these point values, how you score. And I got to tell you, this is not an easy game to score well, okay? Now, when you are really, really good at it, you probably can score well because there's a ton of strategy here. The tactics come in from the fact that you don't exactly know which cubes are coming at what point out of the bag, but for the most part, it's a bigger game on strategy than it is on tactics. The modules you put in, how you lay out your hospital, the type of thing you do. If you want to build a tall hospital, which will score more points as you get taller, because while I was buying points with the money, the other things that score points at the end of the game are your fully functional units that actually can treat patients. So the units on the bottom floor don't score you anything, but the units above, those modules will start to score you 2 points or 4 points or 6 or 8. I think it goes all the way to, 8 on the 4th level. So if you can build a lot of those treatment areas in the course of the game, that can score you a lot of points. Do you want to focus more on money? Do you want to try to treat more patients instead of building up this tall place that would admit more patients? Then you can turn that money into points. Do you want to try to build 2 separate buildings? If I build 2 separate buildings that function, I get extra points for that extra building. And so there's lots of different ways to take the strategy. Those are for the most part, those are the ways you score. You also score at the end for, how many red and orange and yellow, etc. doctors. So you score for having the personnel. You would also get negative points if you left patients untreated. So there is some plus and minus back and forth there. And that kind of gives you a flavor. The game itself, again, I think from a solo point of view, there is a ton of good, meaty decisions, which is why I recommend it. From a positive standpoint, I love that about this game. I love that there are good, solid choices. They're deep. There's a lot to consider. It can sometimes, this could be an AP-prone game for sure. But when you saw the choices, it's funny because there's only 3 types of turns you can take. But man, do those turns have some implications depending on what you do. I also love the fact that while it's a little pricey, there are a ton of expansions out for this game. There's actually even a Kickstarter out that I'm sure you can lay back or do whatever you want if you want at this point to get even more expansions. Now, I bought this when it came out with the Deluxe with the first set of extensions, and that came with an entire booklet here of different expansions for it. So each of these boxes represented a different expansion that you could put in. You could mix any number of these in together. Some are pretty light. Some are much more intensive. So, if you want to play with like the pharmacy module, that adds a slew of different rules, or the amenities module, slew of different rules. If you just want to play with satellite TV, small rules, little things, or maybe you just want to play with, some utility workers, small things. And so they add, or they can add a bunch, they add a little bit to it. It keeps it fresh. It also keeps it a little bit hard to remember how to play if you don't play it often. So that's one of those things you're not going to be able to just sit back down and remember how to mix in these modules unless you are quite good at remembering games. And I play a lot of them, obviously variety, so I usually have to come back to the rules and freshen up a bit before I sit down and play this. But for the solo person out there that's looking for a great hospital simulation, I think this game has it in spades, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you don't like fiddliness, if you don't like AP games, or you want to play a game where you're doing something else at the same time, or you can't get the time that it takes. In this game, I'd say this is an hour-plus game for a solo player if you know what you're doing. It could be a lot longer depending on how long you take to make your decisions. It doesn't fly by, but the turns can be fairly quick once you've kind of have your strategy understood. But the point is that you do need some patience, you need some quiet, and some ability to concentrate, or you're going to make mistakes. You're just going to miss little things like I was trying not to do while I was filming. So I hope that helped you figure out if this game is for you. If it is, fantastic. If it's not, then I just saved you some money. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.